Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Mitch from BD Audio, where we like to dyno amps down under. On today's episode, we're not going to be dynoing any amps. I'm just going to show you a piece of history. This is one of the most sought after amps from Phoenix Gold, topping the Frankenstein, or Frank Amp Stein, I should say, which was basically two amplifiers put in to one heatsink, running two completely separate sides. This here is the second edition. So in 1992, they brought out the son of Frank Amp Stein. With this, you had two separate amplifiers, as I said. One side is the MS2750. That one would be rated 75 times 2, 4 ohms, 125 times 2 at 2 ohms, or 260 bridged at 1 ohm, which I find quite odd that they've put a 2-channel here and they've also put another 2-channel here. In the original model, they ran a 4-channel with a powerful 2-channel. Here, they have a 2-channel with a powerful 2-channel. I'm assuming maybe it's kind of acting as a 432 or potentially a 2-1. The other side is the MS2125. This side is rated 125 times 2 at 4, 255 times 2 at 2, or 510 bridged. And you'll notice when we flip this over, and I'll show you the insides, they are two very different sized amps. So as stated earlier, this is the smaller side. So this is the MS2750. This is the smaller of the two channels. You have your channel inputs here. You have your flat and common ground, I'm assuming. Output, bridge or stereo. Your RCAs, panel mount style. You have your gain. You have your bass boost, your gain, overprotection, clip light, and on. On the other side, you have 4-gauge inputs and your remote. You also have two leads here. I think this one is for your LEDs, and the other one, I actually have a weird feeling that it might be a thermal temp sensor. I'm not exactly sure. I've got to do a little bit more research. Now, this is the other side of the amplifier. And again, please be in mind, this amp doesn't work. Well, half of it doesn't work. It needs to be completely rebuilt, redone, and refinished. As you can see, I haven't prettied it up or anything, so it's still got a little bit of rust here and there. Somehow the worlds aligned and I ended up with it. So again, 4-gauge inputs, a remote, two separate RCAs, channel 1 and channel 2. And remembering, if you were to bridge it, one side and one side would give you your 500. Now, I'm going to take a guess that this thing would do well over 500. Once you see the insides of it, you will definitely agree with me. So here it is with the case on. Again, I haven't done anything to it. I haven't cleaned it or anything, so the perspex is obviously still a little dirty. It is also warped, as you expect, as this amp is from 1992. And the person that did have it had it basically sitting in a garage, copping a lot of moisture and condensation, and obviously he didn't know what he had, and it just sat there essentially to go to scrap. So here we go. This is the case off. So as I said earlier, this side is the 2125. This is the big high-powered side, as you can tell by the brass bars that run directly over the board, as well as 4-gauge terminals going to the board. So as you can see, there's a bit of rust down here, a little bit of condensation over here. I have turned this amp on, or potentially tried to turn it on. This side, unfortunately, does not take charge. So I've used the test light, slowly charged it up, and obviously the caps definitely need to be replaced, as most of these do. A lot of components in this will need to be changed before you should really be playing around with it too much. But in the short instance, it would not stop taking charge. So I'm not going to even attempt to plug this in, because you can do some serious damage with these by trying to connect them. You will end up just blowing holes in the board. But as you can see, obviously it has Definitely seen some better days, but I'm assuming after a little bit of a clean, it wouldn't be that bad. This side is a little bit more interesting for me. Now, I did charge it up. It did take charge, obviously, because it's only dealing with one cap. And it turns on. I'm not going to try and push it or run it to make sure it actually works, but it powers up and sits stable. And you do have a couple of little LEDs throughout. So that one, okay, half of it works, half of it doesn't. But it's very, very odd, this sort of design, as you can see here. I couldn't even explain how half of this works, so I'm not going to even attempt to try. By all means, if you want to go online and have a look, there was only 300 of these made. So this is 284 of 300. Now, the Frank Ampstein was a 100 amp made, meaning there was only 100 made in the limited edition run. This one is a 284 of 300. So this one obviously had a little bit more runs, and I'm hoping that being a later model, even though technically the earlier models are a little bit more rare, this one here, being a later model, you would think that they would have ironed out a little bit more of the kinks. Now, this is an amp of the era. I've landed with it in my lap. Unfortunately, it's not something that I'm willing to risk having this repaired, just because there's not that many amp repairers in Australia, let alone anyone that I believe that might do a decent enough job or potentially want to trust them. Nor do I have the money to repair it myself, as it doesn't suit any of my collection. By all means, I've got a few old amps, Orions, Hyphonics, MTXs, Rockford Fosgates. This is not an amp that would suit my collection. I don't even know how this came about to be in Australia. As far as I know, that these are just not an amplifier that were made nor retail sold here. So I'm guessing potentially someone has imported one over. Well, I hope you enjoyed having a look at this old school amplifier as much as I enjoyed showing it off. Understandably, there's not a lot to show, and unfortunately, I'm not the person to explain this amp in depth, but I thought it would just be a nice, cool thing to show everybody on potentially what they might be missing out on or what the old days used to look like. So if you did enjoy watching this video, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications. That way you're informed of our next video uploads. I do have a couple of tech stuff videos coming out in the near future, so make sure you keep that in mind as well as obviously your weekly dose of amp dynos. This is BD Audio, where we like to dyno amps down under. Thanks for tuning in. I'm tuning out. See ya.